Mr. Mayor, it is 9 a.m. The live stream and recording has commenced. You may begin your meeting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good morning, Council, senior leadership team, viewers. I see we have quorum for this morning's meeting, so I'll call this regular council meeting for Wednesday, February 4th into session. And first up on the agenda is our national anthem. We ask all those able to please rise. All right, next on the agenda is a land recognition statement, and this week we have Councillor Nesnick will do the honors. Please.
Thank you and good morning. The town of Pelham is situated on treaty land steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattie-Wenderong, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island live and work in Niagara. The town of Pelham stands in solidarity with all Indigenous peoples, past and present, acknowledging that our high standard of living is a result of the resources and lasting friendship of Indigenous peoples.
Thank you, Councillor Nesnick. I now turn to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings us to approval of the agenda, and I have a motion moved by Councillor Bernarski, seconded by Councillor Niznik. Be it resolved that the agenda for the February 4th, 2026 regular meeting of council be adopted as circulated. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. After viewing the agenda, does any council member have any questions or additions? Not seeing any. I'll call the question. All those in favor? I see none opposed. To the clerk.
Thank you. That brings you to disclosure of pecuniary interests.
Thank you. And after viewing the agenda, does any council member have a pecuniary interest to declare? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And we are on item 6, adoption of council minutes, and I have a motion put forth by Councillor Kerr, seconded by Councillor Hildebrand. Be it resolved that the following minutes be adopted as printed, circulated, and read. CO2 2026 regular meeting of council of January 28th, 2026. To you, Mr. Mayor, for any errors or omissions.
Thank you. Any council member have any comments on these minutes? Not seeing any. I'll call the question. All those in favor? I see none opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings us to the request to lift any consent agenda items. If there are any items that council would like to lift, now would be the time.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Any items on the agenda items that any member of council would like to lift? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to the consent agenda, which is very short, if you'd like to consider it as a whole.
Yes. Any of the items that council would like to discuss? Councilor Kerr.
Yes, just a little bit on 8.2.1, the PRV replacements. I've been in contact with the Director of Public Works and Communications and suggested to them that we get maps outlining the areas that will be affected and be able to have something like that that could be posted within the village of Fenwick to outline when these water challenges would be, recognizing that we have a high degree of pedestrian traffic in the village itself that would be affected. So having something like that, and I've spoken actually with a few of the businesses there that would be willing to have them posted prior to. So it's just a matter of having it available, and especially in case there's, for some unforeseen reason, if there's a change in the dates themselves, which can always happen, as we well know. That was just a suggestion I had.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll go to the Director of Public Works. Since this report was published, has there been any further changes to this when this is going to happen?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Cook has been the point of contact with the region on this, so I don't think, and he can speak if there is a change, but I don't think there's any changes with respect to the timelines. With regards to the maps, staff can look at getting those maps together, and we can send them to the businesses as well as post it on our website for information.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cook, no further comments, or? Okay, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up, Councillor Kerr. To the, any other comments on the items? Not seeing any. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If there is no further discussion, I have a motion moved by Councillor Wink, seconded by Deputy Mayor Eckert. Be it resolved that the consent agenda items as listed on the February 4th, 2026 council agenda be received and the recommendations therein be approved. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Well, one last ask. Any other comments? Not seeing any. Call the question. All those in favor? I see none opposed. Motion carries. To the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to staff reports requiring action. And our first item is 10.2.1, winter parking for information. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Niznik, seconded by Councillor Kerr. Be it resolved that council receive report 2026-0028, winter parking prohibition information report for information. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, thank you. Any council comment on this report? Deputy Mayor Eckert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I read this report over, I sort of satisfied in my mind that I was I in favor of some sort of an exemption or not? And I thought that was a good starting point, because if I'm not in favor of parking exemption, then the rest of it, the report doesn't really mean a heck of a lot. I'm looking at staff comments in this and recommendations, and all of the different notifications and things like that. And to me, it's just going to cause some chaos out there. People, well, I didn't know that the snow was coming and things like this. So bottom line is, I'm not in favor of a parking exemption. I think it's going to create a lot of headaches for our excellent town staff that are out there busy trying to clear these roads. People can find alternatives. There's ways around this. They can ask neighbors. They can park in nearby lots, and it may be a slight inconvenience, but it's far less than the inconvenience of the plow operators trying to maneuver around the street. So I am not in favor of a parking exemption, and I support staff's recommendation that it stays the way it is.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Eckert. Any further council comments? Well, let's go to Councilor Hildebrand.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm also in agreement with the staff recommendation in this report. The one exception that I see in this report is the town of Pelham does not define that it has a towing provision in the report. All the other communities have a towing provision. So I'd like to just ask the fire chief whether there actually is a towing provision connected with a fine?
To the fire chief, please.
Good morning, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yet we have the right to tow vehicles in any certain, so for fire routes, disabled parking, impeding live lane traffic. There's a number of things, but we do have an outright ability to tow.
Thank you. I think it's important for our residents to realize that there is a fine and the car can be towed if it's in the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's, if we may, to the chief again. Do we use that towing option often, or is it mostly a ticket on the windshield and the car stays there, but the next time you tow out, do you have a scale that you use on that, or how would that be applied?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's related to our bylaws discretion. In my time, we have never towed a vehicle. We've always been successful in contacting the owner. We run the plate and we reach out to them and say, this needs to be moved. Sometimes it's a disabled vehicle, sometimes it's someone's away on holidays for a couple weeks or so forth, because you're only allowed to park on the road for 12 hours. So if you really don't pose a real threat to traffic and safety and like in a live lane, then we'll do everything in our power to have the vehicle before we tow. So very last thing we would do.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Thank you. Any other questions on this, Councilor Kerr?
Yeah, it's just following Councilor Hildebrand. So should we include a provision in there that vehicles may be towed, just so that it's, look at all the other municipalities, that line be included, so again, residents would know that, or is that not necessary?
Let's go to our legal, Ms. Sturton.
Technical difficulties there. Through you, Mayor, the proposed bylaw that council will consider later this morning does include that as an option. So if council is to approve that bylaw, that should be covered.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions on this item? Not seeing any? Call the vote. All those in favor? And I see none opposed. Motion carries. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our next report for action is Town of Pelham options for reducing area speed limits. And I have a motion moved by Deputy Mayor Eckert, seconded by Councilor Bernarski. Be it resolved that council receive report 2025-0004, Town of Pelham options for reducing area speed limits for information, and that council direct staff to implement option blank with respect to the establishment of speed limits within the Town of Pelham. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, and I believe there's 5 options that council is being asked to choose from. Comments on this report? Deputy Mayor Eckert.
I guess I'll go first, seeing as I'm moving this. I've read this over with a fine-tooth comb. It's an excellent report. Thank you, Ryan and Jason, for this report. First of all, option 5 is not even to be considered as far as I'm concerned. And keeping in context or in with an agreement with the Pelham Act of Transportation, I would be supporting option 4. The old adage, speed kills, hasn't changed in 50 years. It is proven from all the studies that are done both in North America and in Europe that reducing speed limits not only reduces personal injury and fatalities and collisions, but it also reduces the amount of damage done and, in fact, reduces the amount of collisions. The more time you have to recognize something going on makes it safer for drivers and especially pedestrians. So I would be in favor of option 4. I think it clearly removes any confusion about differing speed limits within the town. We've talked about Canberra Road in Fenwick, where it changes 4 or 5 times in a very short period of distance. And the cost, if you drive around town, especially in the urban area, most of our side streets don't have signs on them now. They just, so there's a, and I know I've had some discussions with Mr. Marr at the PATC, but there can be a blanket sign as you're coming into towns on our stands that says speed limit's 40 kilometers an hour. So that may help in the cost of replacing the signs. I agree with the over a 2-year period that's in there to do this. Of course, a big component of this will be enforcement. We know that probably 95% of the motoring public obey laws. So it's a very small percentage of the people that will be driving excessive speeds. Even if we get people down to 45, it's better than them driving 55 and 60. So I have traveled around, as I said. I started in the summertime driving at between 40 and 45 all over town. I didn't have one incident on any of the streets of anybody exhibiting any road rage characteristics. I think this goes a long way in establishing Pelham as a pedestrian-friendly town, and the monetary cost is low and easily absorbed. So I would be looking at option 4. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Deputy Mayor Eckert. If I have, maybe ask one question to, is it Public Works? So when I'm looking at option 4, application of 40K speed limit within all urban areas and rural settlements. So a road like Sawmill Road, roads like Foss Road, they're not going to be under this, but they're still going to be at 60, I take it. So when you say rural settlements, well, define that for me, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, you're right. So the rural roads will remain with the posted speed limits that they have now. The urban areas would be the areas of Fenwick along the Canberra Road corridor through Ridgeville and the urban area of Fawn Hill.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yep, thank you for that. Any other questions? Councilor Kerr?
Yeah, I went through the maps, and I guess I'll comment more about Fenwick urban area rather than anything else. In looking at it, I've been thinking back and forth of the 40K in the entire area, and that's most of these streets. I've received queries, especially in the subdivision areas, of people requesting it be 40K, especially around Wellington Heights School with Allsop Drive and a few other things. I would like to add a small section of road to that's not included, and it would be from Memorial Drive, from Cream Street through to Canberra Road. That's where the old town hall is. The reason being, there is a stop sign at Cream Street, but that's high agricultural traffic area, especially with DeVries and Hayes and others in that particular zone. So there's a lot of agricultural vehicles that utilize that road. And it just makes sense that it would keep Memorial consistent right from Maple Street all the way to Canberra Road as one contiguous unit. That was one that people had asked me about, especially the farmers on that street and the hollow through Memorial Drive. People walk, there's actually a number of people that actually walk all the way to Cream Street on Memorial Drive, and there's just no space. So getting it down to 40 at least, it may not make the people drive slower, but it would be consistent in terms of making it safe. At first I was thinking, going all the way to Cream Street. The true urban area of Fenwick doesn't reach that far, especially for something like Welland Road, but again, the number of people that have commented on Welland Road being a bit of a racetrack like Foss Road and other things, coming into Fenwick when people head westbound, beginning that to slow down at Cream Street was probably a sound idea. I will add a suggestion that I saw in the town of Lincoln that I thought was highly useful, and I've mentioned it to a few people. They actually put up a sign with 40 ahead with an arrow well in advance of where the 40 speed limit started. And it actually was double the size of a regular speed sign. This was on Camden Road and a few other places where, again, the same thing, people are used to traveling extremely quickly. So whether that's something that we may want to consider or utilize within signage in particular areas, I would think that would be highly useful for something like Welland Road. As an example, in the similar heading on Cambro, eastbound coming in from Victoria Avenue or Regional Road 24, same thing when you get near the school, an advanced sign saying a reduction to 40 throughout the village would be, I guess, for my constituents in that area would be highly appreciated. Similar signs might be utilized as well for Metler Road in North Pelham as well, coming off Regional 24, where the 40 starts, giving them an advance notice there, as well as coming up Metler Road the other way. But those are, it's like, they're suggestions. They're not, I think if we do have the option of doing that, it would be highly useful. But I'm in favor of option 4. I probably receive more calls than any about the speed of Canberra Road, especially through the village of Fenwick. The variance in speed limits is driving people crazy. So the consistency of putting it doesn't mean they're going to drive slower, but as Councillor Eckert says, I've driven at 40K and there hasn't been any issues.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Kerr. Any other comments? And I see Councillor Nesnick.
Yes, thank you. Personally, I'm not so in favor of option 4. I think it's overkill. I think most of the smaller subdivisions, folks do drive at 40 kilometers an hour. We need to remember that the posted sign is a maximum, so 50 kilometers an hour is a maximum speed. You don't have to drive 50 kilometers an hour. You can go 40 kilometers an hour, and I think most of the times the traffic is busy enough on some of these streets that you can only go 40 kilometers an hour because that's the speed some of them are going. I'm fully in favor of 40 kilometers an hour in safety zones, school zones, and I do agree maybe through the main drag there in Canberra from Wellington Heights School, or you've outlined it, sorry, I think I'm looking more at option 3 here. No, I must be looking at option 2. Option 2 from where the school is over right through to St. Anne's. But as I said, when you drive through there, most folks are only going 40 kilometers an hour anyways because it's quite busy and that sort of thing. I think to limit the speed along Canberra Road to 40 kilometers an hour is unreasonable, and I don't think it would be achievable. And I just don't, I think we need to respect the municipal guidance that folks, like the laws have put in place, and just make sure that our school zones are well covered. For instance, now they took away the speed camera on Highway 20, and now you go past St. Alexander's on Highway 20, there's no 40-kilometer posting there. So that needs to be rectified, and I think if we increase the flashing lights, the notification that it's 40 kilometers an hour through these zones, that public are respectful of that. I think I see that during coming down South Pelham often. Folks do slow down to 40 kilometers an hour when you see those signs in your sign. You see your speed limit there posted. So I will not be supporting option 4, but I certainly would be supporting option 2 with maybe some minor tweaks.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Any other comments? Councillor Bernarski.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. While doing some reading into the changes of speed limits and whatnot, the one thing that I did read from the majority of the places that undertook this venture was, as Deputy Mayor Eckert said, is the enforcement. And obviously we are not able to have police officers on every corner. But the thing that they added in there was that education is key. Enforcement and or education is key. So something I would also like to see through our communications team is to provide education to the public when driving on the roads or about these changes that are coming, leveraging social media and just kind of, putting this out to the community time after time after time. You need to hear it 7 times so that you actually follow what we're talking about. So just reminding community that these are the rules that are in place, the reasons why, and hopefully people will implement it into their everyday driving, and hoping as well that obviously we could get some enforcement once in a while. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hildebrand.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The issue I have is I'm not convinced making everything 40 kilometers in all areas is reasonable. That's the reasonableness of a speed makes a big difference, because I definitely think option 2 with regards to community safety zones should be 40 kilometers an hour. I think through Fenwick, obviously it has to be 40 kilometers an hour. I'm definitely in favor of that. I guess if I was to vote for anything, I would vote to start at option 2 and see how that works, and then proceed from there to the other areas. That would be my recommendation. So I'm fully supportive of reducing the speed and starting at one spot and then moving on from there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hildebrand. Councillor Kerr.
Yeah, we all have different views of different things, and I understand Councillor Niznik. I agree, Canberra Road, there is the stop at Cream Street, and then there's another stop at Balfour. So to me, the 40 would start if it was at Balfour through the village of Fenwick, rather than, because if we say community safety zone, what it does is push the 40 further down the road. I'm just thinking from the stop sign on, it's a lot easier to make those kind of things. And I'm fully aware. I guess part of it was also looking at, for the area-wide thing, was also the signage which other municipalities were using. You're entering a 40K, so not every street required a 40K notification and those kind of things. So it did somewhat simplify all of that. And I can fully understand that. I was trying to work from the appendix maps. That looking, well, there's this one, and then there's this one, and how do you modify this one? And I'm sure it's a great challenge. Like, something had to be put to print in every option. And as I've spoken with Ryan before, it's created all kinds of challenges. But I concur with Councillor Niznik about the Canberra Road issue, from urban boundary to urban boundary. Leaving it as the existing speed makes sense because of the volume. And plus, we have some mitigating things of additional stop signs. When you take a look at it, at Effingham Street, there's a stop sign. At Center Street, there's a stop sign. At Cream Street, there's a stop sign, which are all part and parcel. So I think we could leave that section, because Canberra Road functionally is a main thoroughfare between Fenwick and Font Hill. So, and people, as you said, it's a matter of enforcement and will they be around. So I understand. I guess what we're looking at is trying to modify some of the stuff. And I was thinking of the signage, to be honest, to the other councilors, of simplifying and saying in this area, it's all the roads, rather than having to put signs on specific road here and a specific road there, and having something else, and looking at school areas and other things. So I guess I'm still at option 4, but I'm sure that we should have probably the discussion for modifications with it. But if we start at some point, either we start with a lot and make it simpler for signage and adjust, or do we start with little and then have to keep adding on signage afterwards? Regardless, we're all talking about the same thing. Safety through our residential areas are of the prime concern for people. So I'll leave it at that, but I can fully agree with Canberra Road change, rather than having it as 40 all the way from Font Hill through Fenwick.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. I see Councillor Wink, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm going to agree with Deputy Mayor Eckert regarding option 4. If we post 40 for the entire town, there's no confusion what the speed limit is. We have a duty to keep our roads safe. I live on an extremely busy street where people, even though we've got speed bumps, they race between bumps, and it gets up to 65 clicks in a hurry. We've got kids, for example, right across the street. They're very active, and their hockey pucks and balls and everything are constantly going onto the street. They're pretty good on keeping an eye on traffic, but we've got an obligation for the safety of our citizens, particularly the young kids who might not be as properly aware of how to cross the street. And also, we have a large number of senior citizens in our community that can't get across streets very quickly. If we slow things down, I agree with Councillor Eckert in saying, yeah, if it's 40, they might drive 45, maybe 50, as opposed to 50 where they're driving 65 down Hay Street. So I concur wholeheartedly with Deputy Mayor Eckert.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Wink. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Eckert.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. One thing I wanted to add was the studies that I've read is these type of going with option 4, this type of action, where there is some resistance now to existing drivers, we're talking about generations ahead, so that it changes the driver's attitude for generations. And every year we have new drivers coming in on the road. And if they know that it's 40 kilometers, then that's what they drive, and it just continues on and on and on. So you look at a 5 to 10 year period, and it's now established. And I think back to things like motorcycle helmets and seat belts, which today are no-brainers, but I remember when they came into effect and trying to enforce those, and the people that would come up with arguments, it's my God-given right to be thrown through my windshield if I feel like it, or crash on a motorcycle and sustain a brain injury so I don't have to wear a helmet. So these things are generational, and you have to start sometime and somewhere, and I think now is the time to start here in Pelham. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Eckert. Deputy Mayor, to Councilor Nisnik.
Yeah, thank you. Just through you, Mr. Mayor, any questions to staff? I did inquire if there were any statistics with regards to accidents and injuries and that have been sustained by cyclists, pedestrians, that sort of thing, that we have any access to any data showing that there's a need to reduce the speed all over town to 40 kilometers an hour?
And we will direct that to the fire chief, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no specific stats to speak directly to it, but overall, if you look at the speed limits throughout the town, we take the 3 districts in fire. District 1 is our busiest station with all types of calls. However, they are probably the least, or the station that uses their jaws the least, opposed to 2 and 3. In District 1, there's only one section in front of the high school at 70. The rest of the town, most of the town is 50. There is one little bit of 60. But having those reduced limits, there's very few accidents, serious accidents. There's fender benders, but as far as fatalities and that. But if we look at Station 2 and 3 districts, they have the 80 zones, and they're out on those higher speeds quite often, and some very serious accidents. So the lower speeds certainly support safety.
Thank you to the chief. Councillor?
Yes, thank you very much for that information.
Okay, thank you. If I may. So being a rural resident of the town, I wanted to get a feel of, because we've all heard 1 or 2 urban people either contact us and have to do something with speed. So I wanted to get a handle on this. So clipboard in hand, I went to, and with the permission of the manager of Food Basics in Font Hill, I spent an hour and a half on a Saturday morning and learned many things, not just about speed. Number one, over half the people that shop at that store are from out of town. So that was my first question. Are you a resident of Pelham? And 99%, half the time I got no, I live in Welland, West Lincoln, wherever. So it was quite a few, it's pretty impressive how many people from out of town come into Font Hill to do the shopping. But the ones I did get to stop, and believe me, if you're trying to talk to a single male with a child in tow, do not get in his way. He's on his way home. He has no time to talk. That's fine. The ones that, surprisingly, that I was able to corral, and over that hour and a half, I talked to 55 people. They were mostly the seniors that did that would take a time. I had 30 seconds to lay things out, and then after that, I got to go. But in that 30 seconds, the main question was, told them council was going to be meeting Wednesday morning discussing speed limits. If they had their choice, would you like to see it stay the same, or should we lower them? And tell you honest truth, before I got into that, talking to those people, I was all for leaving them the same. As it was, after an hour and a half and talking to 55 people, it ended up, and most of those are seniors, it ended up pretty well a draw, 50-50. And some of them are quite emotional. You definitely have to lower the speed. I live on South Pelham Street, and it's very fast. Other ones, oh, you crazy, you can't go down any lower, you should be raising the speed limit, whatever. But bottom line is, out of those 55 people, which is indeed a very small segment, it was surprising that it was give or take one or two votes right down the middle as to either leave it the same or take it down. So that switched me somewhat, that because I would have thought just leave it alone, leave it where it is. It does seem overkill to me to take it to 40 kilometers everywhere, which translates to 25 miles an hour. But at the same time, when I talk to the residents, and that's what they're telling me, I still even so. My thought now is I agree with Councillor Nesnick. I think the 40 overall is a little bit of an overkill, but I would definitely go with the community safety zones, and we can always go from there if we decide that we want to expand the zones. But so after my impromptu study of the residents, that's what I think I will take. I'll go with the. I would not want to go option 4. To be honest with you, I'm not gonna not a hill to die on, that's for sure. Speed or no speed. So now that's where I would go right now, is I believe. So Councilor Nesnick, was that Councilor? That was option 2, I believe, is it not community safety zones? But anyway, that's what we need now is a councillor to first I'll leave it open. Any other questions? Councillor Kerr.
Yeah, just as a follow-up to Councillor Nisnick's query about statistics for accidents, the one thing statistics don't take into account are near misses, because they never get reported. And I guess where that came to me was when there was a great discussion about the pedestrian crossing for Wellington Heights on Canberra Road. The primary studies came back and said, well, this doesn't, yet when you get parents routinely calling you saying they've had to grab their kids because it was a problem. And then now, in retrospect, that addition of that crossing has worked out extremely well at that particular location. I've gone by during the school hours, and it's used regularly and vehicles are stopping. So it's an example of maybe the data wasn't right there, but the near misses weren't being included in the data per se. So I know where you're coming from there. I'm speaking strictly from looking at, as I said, I wasn't looking at Font Hill with it. I was looking at the Fenwick urban area and realizing the number of houses, the number of people, the number of kids walking, everything else. I agree with Councillor Wink in terms of his comments relative to it. Yes, there are tweaks relative to Canberra Road, which I would agree to. I don't think Canberra Road needs to be, outside of the urban areas. That is a mistake. But when you're within, the challenge has been is that we've had, and I've watched it on far too many occasions, as I call it, and I'm going to stereotype by saying big wheel pickup trucks deciding that from Balfour Street to Victoria Avenue is a racetrack going down there. So in a way, we can't stop them. Sometimes these things, and as was mentioned, 40K, you creep up to 45, you're not likely to run into problems. I work at that. Having been a resident also in Florida, what was particularly interesting was that they had, believe it or not, their school zone areas were 15 miles per hour, which is far less. But everybody went that during the school zone times because there was a cop car sitting there. And you learned really fast what was going to happen. Now, it wasn't always there, but boy, it got your attention pretty quickly. So it's hard to come up with a blanket, but the Fenwick one as drawn really is the true urban spot of Fenwick. And because we have a lot of rural people or a lot of rural traffic suddenly coming into what formerly was a little village, and now it's much more urban. Let's just say their familiarity with driving fairly quickly in the rural areas and transitioning to a slower area as a way to encourage them to go.
Yep.
I'm for trying to figure out how to do that in the easiest way possible. So, as I said, I can't comment on Font Hill because I'm not I'm not in there on a daily basis, but in Fenwick and in the subdivision all through there on Church Street and other spots, there are people saying, yeah, it can be a bit of a havoc. So I don't mind having the 40K for that. I think that it's just, as we all come, it's a guideline as a maximum. People creep over everywhere. I drive more than 50K on Canberra Road now. I admit it, I'm doing it wrong, but I think if we leave it elevated through this urban area, we're encouraging the infamous going from 45 to 55, and I have issues with that. So I'm not sure how we get around what's a better way, but that's my feeling, having been a rural kid at the beginning and now I'm, quote, an urbanite of where I live on Maple Street. That's people would like to see it slowed down.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bernarski.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. As Deputy Mayor said, people will speed. They're going to speed, but the impact by changing it to 40 could have the generational impact, right? If you see it now, you start changing your habits now, that's just going to carry on. If we change the speeds or not, people will continue to speed. If there's enforcement in the area, they get caught speeding above a 40, I think that's probably very quickly going to change their driving habits the next time because now you're going to get a larger fine perhaps. So changing the speed to 40 through option 4 and having it done now, I think may not change everyone's driving habits, but it will hopefully in the future. So I would agree with the councillors for option 4 to have the most impact now and hopefully into the future.
Okay, thank you. If I don't see any other comments, does someone want to put forward a motion? Deputy Mayor Eckert.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So with a comment, I will be moving for option 4. And the comment is that anything other than option 4 does nothing for people on side streets who are complaining about speeding vehicles, especially in the downtown core where people are using Emmett and College for 2 to be example. And I'm looking ahead at the impact that that's going to have when we redo Station Street, because if we don't reduce the speed limits now in that area, they're going to continue to be raceways, especially when we redevelop them. We're going to put in some traffic calming measures, I think. But Station Street is going to be a conduit north and south. So anything other than option 4 does nothing to alleviate or satisfy the people that live on those side streets. So I will be moving for option 4.
Okay, so you're putting a motion forward?
Yes.
And do you have a seconder for the motion? And I see Councillor Wink will second it. Excellent. So you, any other comments on your motion? As a seconder, John, do you, Councillor Wink, any further comments? Okay, thank you. On the motion before us, any further comments from council before I call the question? Councillor Kerr.
Just to clarify in my mind, that would not affect Canberra Road from the urban area to the urban area boundary? Because when I looked at some of the appendices maps, Canberra Road was included.
The whole road.
Yeah, the whole road, and I would like to see that excluded, at least Canberra Road, and that Memorial Drive was extended as I had suggested to earlier. I'm just, it's a minor tweak, but I want to clarify my mind. If we take option 4, does that mean that Canberra Road is 40 from all the way?
Yep, I'll turn to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The councillors, Deputy Mayor Eckert and Councillor Wink can make that amendment to their motion. Councillor Kerr, you can also put another amendment afterwards if you'd like to specify any language or exclude portions of it.
Okay.
To Deputy Mayor.
I would not be opposed to a friendly amendment to those requests.
Okay, and seconder?
Oh, we don't need a seconder for that.
No, I was
unless-
just going to
sorry,
ask
yeah.
Councillor Wink's opinion. Are you okay with
Yeah,
that?
I'm fine with that small adjustment.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I just clarify the location of that again?
And to the Director of Public Works, Mr. Morris?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, and I'll ask Ryan to speak on this as well. I think staff's reasoning for keeping Canberra Road 40 kilometers an hour from Fenwick to Fawn Hill was because you also have the urban center in Ridgeville. And so this was to avoid going from 40 to 50 to 40 to 50. So it was to maintain a consistent speed on Canberra Road. So I'll just offer that as an explanation for why that was included.
Okay.
Mr. Cook, any further words? Okay, thank you. Kevin or
I
Councillor
guess,
Cook?
I guess my comment is, understanding the issue of Ridgeville, I would probably exclude from that Ridgeville boundary through to the boundary of Fenwick for Canberra Road. We have stop signs, we have other things there. I understand the consistency going up. That makes sense, and I had looked at that from Effingham Street and trying to work it through in my head. But as I said, the Canberra Road one, but the extending of Memorial Drive would be the two items that I think should be included.
To Deputy Mayor Eckert.
So if I understand this properly, what we want is we want the village of Ridgeville to be 40, and then just west of that, go to 50, and maintain it at 50 to Balfour? Cream Street. So if we could, and then the second part would be to extend Memorial Drive, the entire length of Memorial Drive
Canberra Road to Balfour.
at 40.
Yes, if there's a section, or sorry, Balfour.
Maple.
From Canberra to Cream, we just need to, because it's just outside the urban boundary.
Okay, so that would be the amendment then. So to Public Works, we'd just have to pick an area west of Ridgeville to increase it to 50 and then take it down to whatever street, you know.
Any comments from Public Works?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, I think we can arrange for those amendments.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments on the motion? Present what one
Sorry,
to
please
the
just,
clerk.
I just would like a clarification if
Yes.
possible. So that Canberra Road be excluded and that expanding Memorial Drive from Cream Street to Canberra Road be included? Is that correct? Was it Canberra Road in its entirety be?
Memorial Drive,
From Cream Street to Canberra?
Street to Canberra Road, which
Correct. Be included.
be included
And then Canberra Road itself be excluded.
from the Fenwick boundary to the Ridgeville boundary.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any other comments before I call the vote? Don't see any other comments. I'll call the vote on the motion. All those in favor, raise your hand. And all those opposed, raise your hand. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings us to the motion as amended. And if Deputy Mayor Eckert and Councilor Winker are okay, I can use them as the mover and seconder again for that. And through you, Mr. Mayor, that would be to receive the report for information, the consideration of option 4, which is the application of 40 kilometers in urban areas, rural settlements, as well as the amendment that Canberra Road be excluded from the Fenwick boundary to Ridgeville and expanding Memorial Drive from Cream Street to Canberra Road. And that staff be directed to include this within the parking and traffic bylaw, which is up next for council's consideration.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments? Not seeing any. Call the vote. All those in favor? And against? And the motion carries.
Did you vote? Did you vote?
No, I didn't. Yes, 4. I didn't have, yeah. No.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings us to our last report for information, which is the proposed traffic and parking regulation bylaw. And I have a motion put forward by Councillor Hildebrand, seconded by Councillor Wink. Be it resolved that Council receive report 2026-0031 for information and that Council approve in principle the proposed bylaw as presented, as amended through item 10.2.2, and that Council direct staff to bring the bylaw to the next meeting for Council's consideration. Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, thank you. Any comments on this item? Councilor Nisnik.
Sorry, thank you. Yes, I do. I just have to find it for a sec, though.
No problem.
Oh, there it is. There we go. So, yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, just a question for Ms. Sturton with regards to 7.12 and 7.13 with the parking. So it says, where there is a shoulder, the right front and rear tires of the vehicle shall be parallel to the shoulder and shall be as near as is practicable to the shoulder. So the problem with that, I just wonder, on hills, you're told to not keep the wheels parallel. You're told to turn the wheels, whether you're up or downhill, one way or t'other. So wheels would not be parallel. So will that create or pose a problem in the bylaw?
To Ms. Sturton?
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Nisnik, there is an option to add the word generally parallel or something. We can address that if it's a concern. I would also note that bylaw would have discretion in the event that somebody is there and their wheels are slightly angled. That's sufficient compliance in my view with the idea that they're parallel. We just don't want somebody parking their vehicle 90 degrees to the shoulder or angling the vehicle away. So I think it's all right as is. If there is a concern, we could add a word largely parallel or primarily parallel, something like that if need be.
Yeah, okay. Well, does the chief have something to add?
Yeah, just add that the intent is to keep the vehicle parallel to the curb. It's because people will park in the live lane and nose in and keep their rear end out in the live lane, which is a real hazard. So if the vehicle is parallel to the curb, if the wheels are turned in or out or whatever the case would be, the vehicle is still safely parallel to the curb.
Okay, so, yeah. So it's just that's perfect. Yeah, you do want the vehicle parallel, that's for sure. But I think, as I said, when we were learning to drive, you were supposed to turn the wheels in or out, depending if you're up or downhill. That was that question, and I had one more. So it's just kind of I guess it's probably always been there. 19.4, no person shall play or take part in any game or sport upon a roadway, including the placement of storage of sports equipment. So like, does that mean our little children can no longer play road hockey?
To Ms. Durkin.
Through you, Mayor, yes, as written?
As written. So they probably, that's probably not a new addition.
It isn't. It's a very common provision in a lot of municipal bylaws in this area.
Okay, well, jeepers. Good thing we didn't always read all our bylaws when we were kids. And then the other thing, pedestrians shall utilize sidewalks whenever they are provided adjacent to a roadway. So just moving forward, I hope we can do some sort of communication blitz with regards to that, because we see many people walking on roads, even though we pay thousands of dollars to have our sidewalks plowed. And hopefully those sidewalks will be plowed properly so that they can be utilized. But I see every day on my road people choosing to walk on the road rather than the sidewalk. That's a comment. Thank you, that's all.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to have the comment from the CEO. I believe that this review was a strategic plan initiative. And obviously, it makes me shudder as to how many hours it took to go all through this and update it. That had to be done. Any comments from you, sir?
This was an action item in the strategic plan, and you're on the cusp of getting the check mark. But to understand, this was the important bylaw that was not available on the town's website. You say, was it an oversight? Were you just not? No. It was impossibly dense. I think the word obtuse isn't strong enough, maybe, or at least it needs a capital O for what this bylaw was. Ms. Sturton, how many updates?
To the traffic and parking bylaw, more than 60 by way of separate amending bylaws. I think it was 64 or 65.
Okay, so let's go with 64. Let's go with a conservative number. What that means is you would have read the streets bylaw, and then you would have had to, as a resident, look up 64 amendments to try to track the changes through. That was, and this is normal around Ontario because it's a gargantuan task, and unless you consciously say, no, we're going to devote the time, resources to doing this, it's never on the top of anyone's desk. But we have more than generationally modified now, and we've taken 4 bylaws and put them into one as a 4 to 1's an efficiency gain. But you're also creating, it's very clever, and it's using technology in a way. So we can now, like, the appendices are every bit as important, if not more so, than the main body of the bylaw. And we can now very easily make, if you read through the report, at the staff level, when change needs to happen, we can do that administratively and just bring it to you simply to pass, there's 2 opportunities a month to do so. So we're never going to get behind where you have one and you need to look up 64 amendments to figure out whether there should be a stop sign on your street or whether you can park there or whatever. It's a really good piece of competent governance that impacts enforcement, it impacts engineering and road design and community design. It impacts the clerk's office with like it covers internally across the corporation, but externally, it's just one of those things that you really need to do. It's really going to kind of govern how we think about future subdivisions and roads and streets. And to the human beings involved in this, I just want to really publicly say thank you. Like, we're at hundreds of hours of labor and a team of really good brains from across the corporation. And I really think it's hard to get excited. It's a nerdy, esoteric thing, but it really is important. It's like having a functioning tax code. Not one of those things that anyone goes around and says, I'm so glad we have a tax code, and right? But if you don't have that sort of thing, it becomes very hard to have a civilized society, and this goes to the heart of local governance. And it's it's really well written, it's really well structured. It can be updated now, you know, we realize there's a problem, we can update it usually the same month, but not more than a month later. And so just dramatically better for the future. Very proud, very grateful to the staff, and I don't expect anyone to throw a parade over the fact they have a new streets bylaw, but it is really effective and going to be a great tool. So respect and congratulations to a heck of a lot of staff for getting this here. And while there won't be parades, we should just stop and say, well done, this is good.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Mr. CEO. In other talks with you, I knew that there was a lot of hours put into this, and nothing that's, like you say, nothing to have a parade over, but to acknowledge the hours that it took to go through this and make it a document that you can build on quite easily in the future as a obviously long overdue chore to be completed. So again, all the staff members that took part in this, renewing this bylaw and updating it, thank you very much. To the clerk. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Kerr.
I'm going to rain on the parade. No, I've been in contact with the Director of Public Works and with Mr. Cook. There was only one modification I'm hoping can be brought in, and it was to do with Fenwick. When I read what was in there on the south side of Canberra Road from Balfour through to Church Street, there's this really odd spot partway down where there's parking allowed, but the white line to the sidewalk is less than 3 feet, so there physically is no way that a vehicle can get off the roadway without blocking the sidewalk. So I had a discussion with Mr. Cook and that, and it was a suggestion that on the south side, and these are numbers that were provided to me by them, so I think this may be a bit easier, that we have no parking on the south side of Canberra Road from 28 meters east of Baxter to 442 meters east. That would follow the entire length of sidewalk we have on the south side, plus a little bit past the pedestrian crossing. There is the capacity to park on the south side of Canberra Road from there. However, it's also come to my attention that they're charging for parking at Canberra Gardens, and there's been some issues relative to people wanting to park out in front on Canberra Road. So the other no parking area would actually be 140 meters, which would be from the center of Balfour Street to Garner Road on the south side. It just would be more consistent, but the biggest part is to make it consistent for that south side sidewalk. There shouldn't be anybody who can park on top. It's just physically not possible. There was a question before that it was to do to the medical, the doctor that had a clinic there and potentially for parking. That's vanished, but also on the other side, a few of the houses have also been rezoned. They were single-family dwellings to multiple units, and we both know, well, I shouldn't say we both, we all know that with intensification comes more vehicles and things, so I'm just trying to protect Canberra Road from being a potential parking lot. And I heard this morning, interestingly, from a person that Regional Transit doesn't let Canberra Road through Fenwick because it's too narrow. And so if we have parking in that particular area, it doesn't look well. So those are my suggestions. Mr. Cook has them already. If we could just include them at some point. It's not absolutely critical, but that would be my suggestions for changes for Fenwick.
Okay, well, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, thank you. To the clerk.
Thank you. That can be added through an amendment if the councillor wishes. Sorry, I believe the solicitor has a comment.
Or can it be done as direction to staff?
To the CEO.
So 20 minutes ago, maybe not that long, you had a vote on speed limits, which also necessitates changes by us to the bylaw. So what I would submit is we're in a position to, well, that's binding direction, certainly to hear you and when we bring this forward in 2 weeks, we can do so with a memo or a note, highlighting the linguistic changes we've made to I don't know the sections offhand, I won't pretend to, but so that what you pass in 2 weeks to make this law will accord with both that commentary and the speed limit changes you've just instituted via a different report. Of course, we drafted this to reflect what the law is today and will be for another 2 weeks or so. So we now have to make some changes, to my mind, 2 sets of them. But, or we can do it through a schedule, but regardless, we'll give you a note when it comes to you in 2 weeks, and you'll be able to pass with confidence the new streets bylaw then.
So you're okay with direction?
Yeah,
Okay.
we now have to make changes anyway, so it's pretty easy.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We will add that as direction to staff.
Thank you.
Is there any
I'm
further commentary?
I'm sorry. Any other questions? I thought where we got. So we have to have a vote here then.
No, we can take that as direction.
Oh, so we're just going to do that as a direction?
Yep,
Okay.
we'll take that as direction. I have a list going if there's any further amendments the council wishes to make.
Okay. Any further amendments, questions? Not seeing any. Okay. So now we're calling a vote.
Yep, so as proposed, that council approve the bylaw as amended through 10.2.2, inclusive of staff direction, and that council directs staff to bring the bylaw to the next meeting. I would just confirm with the solicitor that that timeline is okay with those changes.
It really isn't up to me because the changes are only to the schedules. So
Right,
it's
so-
really up to Mr. Maher and Mr. Cook. It's agreeable to me, though.
Thank you.
Those changes can be accommodated? Okay. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Okay,
Excellent.
thank you then to you, Mr. Mayor, for a vote.
Okay, thank you. So with the additions, I'll ask any further questions? Not seeing any. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? I see none against. Motion carries. To the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings us to motions and notices of motion, and I understand the Deputy Mayor has a notice this morning.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At the next meeting, with the excellent assistance of the town acting clerk and the CAO, I've had discussions with staff about this as well, and this is the avenue, the best avenue to approach this issue. I will be bringing a motion forward for staff to review a situation that came to my attention. Residents on Canberra Road in a condominium complex where they're looking at the charge that the town imposes on them for water coming in and wastewater going out. And the issue being that there is a discrepancy in the size of the pipe that goes out to the sewer. No issue with the water pipe coming in. It's the sewer pipe going out. They're being charged a higher rate according to the town scale than the actual size of the pipe they have in the ground. And I understand from Mr. Siraj, from the Deputy Treasurer, that this will affect or possibly affect 6 to 8 other developments. Some are commercial and some are condo, but we don't know that the same situation arises until we look at it. So the way to do this is to make a motion at the next meeting to have staff review this so we can have the utmost of information available to be able to make a decision on this. So that will be my motion at the next meeting, and I will be looking for a seconder for that at the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor Eckert, and we look forward to the motion. To the clerk.
Excellent, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings us to item 15, resolution to move in camera, and I have a motion presented by Councillor Wink, seconded by Councillor Kerr. The council resolve into closed session to consider the following matters: closed session memo, municipal contracted services, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employee, as per section 239(2)B of the Municipal Act, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege as per section 239(2)(f), and confidential trade secrets or sensitive scientific, technical, or commercial, financial, or labor relations information that was provided to the municipality in confidence as per section 239(2)(i). To you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Just call the vote. All those in favor? I see none opposed. Motion carries. Madam Clerk?
Okay, thank you. Please allow us a moment to stop the live stream and recording.
Okay, 5-minute break while we